Spring is back with us again. The flowers are in bloom. The jihadis keep on trying to make it all go boom. David Wood will tell you, and I will back him up, that anyone who stands with them must be one sick pup. Ladies and gentlemen, it's This Week in Jihad. I am Robert Spencer. We have here the great David Wood. We start on time because I am old. And we are actually 24 hours late today because yesterday the Gins got my website and I couldn't get to any of the articles. And so I thought I'd start out today by reminding you all that all the articles, a lot of people ask in the comments over the last few months, I see it regularly, people ask where they can find more information about the stories we discuss. So I wanted to tell you all of these stories are at jihadwatch.org, jihadwatch.org, which is updated many times daily with news and commentary on jihad activity of all kinds in all places. And so that's where you can get it all. David, good morning, good evening, and good afternoon. How are you, sir?
Yeah, I have to confess, Robert, when you said Mahat, he was one sick, I thought you were about to say something else. You said one sick pup. I was like, whoa, he's about to say what? And then it was one sick pup. Okay.
It has to rhyme. It had to rhyme with up.
Yeah.
Try it, David.
I thought you were going. I thought you were going for near rhyme, and you were about to say something else.
Write a poem like it. That's my challenge to you. And then I will admit that you are a prophet. Write one like it. Yeah, that's right. Nobody can do it, according to me, the judge.
Yeah, guys. So Robert starts off these live streams. He starts off the episodes of This Week in Jihad with poems, and he repeatedly challenges people to write something like it. And no one has ever been able to meet the challenge. And no one's even tried to meet the challenge. But if you do, just keep in mind, I'm the judge of who's the winner and who's the loser, because that's how Muslims do it, right? They say, if you the Quran, and oh, by the way, we're the judges of the contest, whether you've actually written something as wonderful as we're the ones who judge the contest, because that makes sense. And which is weird because it's supposedly a challenge for unbelievers, and yet Muslims are the judges. It's like, I don't know, it's ridiculous.
And then I don't understand this kind of thing, where here we started with the poem, we talked about the poem, and then what do we get, David? We get this. No poem tonight? I do not understand. It's just one of those things, ladies and gentlemen. But anyway, what we have tonight was actually a poem that has a direct relationship to the news. So that's a first in all the years that This Week in Jihad has been running. Since, what was it, the late 60s, David? We have never had a poem that actually had to do with the news. But I will repeat, actually, let me get it here out of the trash. Anyone who stands with them, the jihadis, that is, must be one sick pup. Anyone who stands with them was chosen, actually, because that's what they're doing. That's the big news this week. And the story is that there are leftists and jihadis, and they're setting up camps, encampments, actually, they're calling them, right now at Columbia University, at NYU, at all these universities and colleges all over the country. And one of the most prominent people involved was Isra Hirsi, who is the daughter of Ilhan Omar, the distinguished congresswoman from Minnesota, friend of Mary Tyler Moore and Lou Grant. Yeah?
That's not some weird thing where it's like her and her uncle or something, is it?
No, that's not. Her uncle is not her dad. But you never know, because he was her stepfather. But in any case, Isra Hirsi is telling us all how the game is played these days, because she was one of the first. Before this really got out of hand, she was actually suspended from Columbia's Barnard College for her involvement in organizing the whole thing. Now, what's interesting about that is that she then got international headlines saying that she was homeless and hungry. Now, her mother is one of the most celebrated people in the country. And I
Hmm.
just doubt that Isra Hirsi, was really hurting for money. But she's saying she'd been cut off from her meal plan. She didn't have any food. She didn't have any place to live. And in any case, there's a happy ending because Isra Hirsi and her mom made a triumphant visit to the Columbia University encampment. I believe that was just earlier today. Maybe yesterday, maybe earlier today. But in any case, what's interesting about that, David, is that while all that's going on, and Isra Hirsi played the victim and was readmitted to the campus after she was suspended, after she was arrested, and her mother, who's a congresswoman, member of the United States House of Representatives, was there with her to praise the
Must be nice.
rioters who are praising Hamas. Actually, they're saying, "We are Hamas," and so on. Meanwhile, Shai Davidai, a professor at Columbia, who is Jewish and a defender of Israel, tried to get in. That you have one of those little cards that opens the gates, because Columbia, as you know, we both lived in New York, is not an area you want to be walking around the city in, and they have a locked gate, and all the students have these little cards to open the gate, and the teachers too. So Shai Davidai goes up to the gate, and he finds, oh, my right to enter Columbia University has been voided. He works there, but his card doesn't work anymore. The cops were standing there, the university security standing there. They said, no, you can't come in. But
Well, in
Isra
Columbia's
Hirsi,
defense, he is Jewish.
well, that's exactly what's going on. That's exactly
Yep.
what's happening here.
Mhm.
And it's incredible that we see the whole thing in microcosm. The anti-Semitism of Islam being embraced by the left, the victimhood propaganda that gets so eagerly taken up. I mean, was reading, in the New York Post, and it was at CNN everywhere. Isra Hirsi is homeless and hungry. Who are you kidding?
Mhm.
Congressmen
Mhm.
not only get their
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
$174,000 salary, they get all these gifts. They get all this graft and grift. It's incredible.
Yeah, and her mom goes around speaking at all these places and gets endless trunks of money for going around
Yeah.
speaking. And oh no, they've revoked my school meal plan. I'm just going to starve in the streets. Yeah, yeah, you look like it, girl. But in addition to all that, um, is the hypocrisy is front and center. What were we told,
Mm-hmm.
Robert? What have we been told for decades? Don't, under any circumstances, associate with something that those Muslims do with other Muslims.
Yeah.
Don't. You can't do it. Now, we always point out, no, we're talking about the ideology and how it leads to certain things. So we point out we're not saying, hey, whatever some Muslims do, all Muslims are responsible. We say the ideology is responsible when it actually commands these things. But for decades, we're told, hey, when you blame Islam, you're blaming all Muslims. You can't blame all Muslims for the actions of a few. What is everyone doing right now? Hey, any Jew on the planet, we're coming after you for what's going on in Israel.
Yep. Nobody is doing that.
Well, how can we contribute food to this poor girl, Robert?
There she is with her mom, standing there at the gate of Barnard College of Columbia University. And yeah, I don't know. Maybe we could take up a collection. It's a shame this channel is demonetized, because otherwise we could just turn over the all proceeds from this edition to Isra Hirsi, because I know she's hurting.
Yes. Otherwise, she's going to starve. And you
Yeah.
just can't miss. I mean, how sad and messed up this is, Robert. Because I saw it recently. Um, Bishop Marmari Emmanuel,
Mhm.
who of course was attacked in Australia, um, he posted a sort of follow up on how he's doing in the hospital, and it was interesting. He just the contrast between because he's an immigrant. He was born in Iraq. His
Mhm.
family moved to Australia, and so he gives. It's just a few minutes long, but he gives his update to everyone. He's still in the hospital recovering, and he starts by thanking Jesus, and then he immediately starts talking to the Christian community. Guys, don't get violent in response. That's not what we're called to do, and so on. And then he responds to his attacker, says, "I love you, I forgive you, you're my son, I'll always pray for you, and I forgive all those who put you up to this." And then he starts talking about Australia. Hey guys, make sure you don't, we don't want to cause problems for our country. We love our country. We're so thankful to this country. He's talking about how grateful he is to Australia for taking him in as an immigrant. But I mean, just the mentality there. Hey, I was attacked, but I don't want this to be used for retaliation. So guys, do not use what happened to me as an opportunity to retaliate. I do not want that. He talks to his community, right? After every Islamic terrorist attack, the Muslim groups, the Muslim organizations like the Council on American Islamic Relations, they lecture us. They don't talk to their community and say, hey, guys, we need to watch out what we're doing. We need to stop all these terrorist attacks. No, they tell us, hey, guys, don't you be retaliating against us. Don't you be associating that with Islam and so on. And then just you look at the you look at Ayaan Hirsi Ali and her daughter, and it's like you have a
Ilhan
country
Omar.
that
Ilhan
takes
Omar.
you in. Oh yeah, Ilhan Omar. Yeah, oops. Oh yeah, and Hirsi.
Yeah,
It's the Hirsi.
The daughter is named Hirsi. Yeah.
Yeah. That threw me off. The Hirsi. So Ilhan Omar. Yeah, Ayaan Hirsi Ali. She's awesome. Ilhan Omar though. Ilhan Omar and her daughter. I mean, the United States takes you in. All right, you end up as a refugee from Somalia. You end up as you go to Kenya, and hey, we're going to help you out. We're going to help you out. We understand you through no fault of your own, you're born in a place that has become a Sharia compliant hellhole with terrorist groups vying for supremacy and so on. We're going to take you in. And then our country is so oppressive that you an immigrant can actually become a congresswoman here. And your daughter goes to the finest places and lives the finest life. What do? Everything is evil, and it's a horrible, evil place founded on genocide, and you use the opportunity to try and exterminate Jews.
Yep.
Very different. I'm just very different from what we see from Bishop Marmari Emanuel. I just wanted to point that out.
Another very interesting story connected to Marmari Emanuel. In the first place, I actually wanted to point out that 7 young Muslims in Australia have been arrested now in connection with the attack on Marmari Emanuel. So it was not just the one teenage young man who said that who was shouting Allahu Akbar and said he was doing it because Marmari Emanuel had insulted his prophet. But also, the government of Australia ordered X, that is Twitter, to take down the video. It looks as if there's a full court press from the elites to deep six this video. And so last week's show, David, that was the Marmari Emanuel edition of This Week in Jihad, and I put up a photo of the attack, even though we didn't show any video of the attack. I don't actually know how to show video. I should probably learn that. But in any case, didn't show any video of the attack.
You've got a program right in front of you.
Okay. One day I'll learn it. Click play. Wow, how esoteric. Anyway, I did not show the video. There's no video in the broadcast, but there is the still photo on the cover of the attack. And so I got a message from YouTube saying, we're age restricting this because of this photo of the attack on Marmari Emanuel. So got the Australian government telling Twitter to take down all the iterations of the video. And you've got YouTube age restricting the video from last week, and probably others because they have the images. But Marmari Emanuel himself said, no, I disagree. I think the video should be out there far and wide because he wants people to understand what is going on in the world and why this kind of thing happened. But, it doesn't seem as if that's the way the world is tending at this point.
Yeah, and I mean, it's really, this is disturbing. Australia is saying that they want this content banned worldwide, and they think that they get to tell a platform like X that even if the guy who was attacked says, no, I think this footage should be available, the government of Australia believe they can tell, because keep in mind they told X, we want this footage taken down, and X complied in Australia. They said, okay,
Mm-hmm.
if you don't want this footage available in Australia, that's your country.
Mm-hmm.
Australia is saying no, this has to be for the entire world. We want to control what your social media platform makes available to the entire world, or we're penalizing something like $750,000 a day penalty if that for every day they leave this up. But I mean, think about what a horrifying precedent this sets. I've had tons of videos blocked in Pakistan. Guess what? I would point out when Pakistan blocked a video. I'm not going to complain on some legal basis. It's your country. If your country
Mm-hmm.
says, "All right, that sucks that you're that fragile," but it's your country. If you want to say, "Hey, we're the government. We're not making it available in our country," what can I do to stop it? Imagine a world where Pakistan gets to tell the entire world what they are and are not allowed to see.
It's
That's the
coming.
precedent that Australia is setting. That's the precedent that Australia is setting. We in
Mm-hmm.
our country can decide what the entire world is allowed to see on social media. Gosh, I hope they fail. And I'm glad Bishop Marmari Emanuel sees what's going on and says, no, don't use this
Mm-hmm.
situation for that either. So
Indeed.
it's very interesting. He says to his community, hey guys, don't use this to go out and commit violence or to riot, but also don't use this to shut down freedom of speech.
Yep. Yeah, it's very interesting because old Twitter, before Elon Musk, was heavy into this idea. They were censoring everybody. I was going to say left and right, but they didn't actually censor anybody on the left. And I used to get notices on a fairly regular basis. This post or that post, whichever ones would be against Pakistani law. And they would send me an email saying your post is in violation of Pakistani law. And I thought, and you think I care? But anyway, for them,
No,
Pakistani
it
law
should
was
be.
probative.
In a sane world, they would send you a notification and say, your post is against Pakistani law. Congratulations. Here's a medal. That's how it
Yeah,
should be.
yeah,
Here's
and they would
your
be
flag.
sending the guy, the Pakistani guy who, for over a year, was sending me death threats pretty much every day and making these videos and doing all this stuff. He's gone quiet. I don't know. Maybe he's on his way here now. But anyway, he should have gotten emails from Twitter saying you're in violation of American law. Respect the freedom of speech, buddy. But of course, that never happened.
Mhm.
Anyway, lots of jihad, David. I think the main story, aside from the demonstrations all over on college campuses, which we can return to because there's much more to say about them. But in Egypt, Muslims in the Minya province, which is a heavily Christian area in Egypt, were attacking Christian homes, and this was after, excuse me, after the government allowed for the construction of a church. Now, why would Muslims be enraged over the construction of a church, David? Surely it's a religion of tolerance.
No, that's some of the stuff you see in Sharia, like the Pact of Umar, who was apparently some later Umar or something. But you see the requirements that were put upon the Christians when they've accepted dhimmi status, and part of the agreement is you can't construct new churches. You can't repair old churches. If your roof is falling in, you can't even repair it.
Indeed.
And so the idea is, and I mean it's evil, but it's brilliant. It's, hey, you're going to pay us money in acknowledgement of your inferiority, and we're going to allow you to be Christians, but we're going to put all these conditions upon you that reduces your community over time, that crushes your community over time. So you can't repair a church. So that's great. Have your church. The roof will eventually start caving in. You're not even allowed to fix it. So we're setting this up so that your community eventually dies out.
And it
And
worked. It
yep.
worked. Egypt was 99% Christian when the Arabs invaded, and now it's 10% Christian. Where'd they all go? They're still there. They're just the Muslims are the descendants of the Christians who converted. And they did not convert because Islam was wonderful or they were convinced by Dawa boys. They converted because it was so crushingly difficult to live as dhimmis in an Islamic state. And all they had to do was convert to get out from under all that.
Yeah, and I asked. So Me and AP were getting tattoos at a Coptic tattoo shop and so on. But the Coptic Christians, they put tattoos on their kids, and I was hearing about that, and I was like, gosh, they're like, yeah, we put tattoos on like 2 year olds and stuff like that. We put Christian tattoos all over, and I was like, what? That sounds so weird. Then a Coptic Christian, because I was mentioning this in some stream or something like that, and I was like, gosh, that's weird. They tattoo even kids. And someone sent messages. They said back in the day there were so many kidnappings where you have a kid and the Muslims just go up and take your kid. And so we started putting Christian tattoos all over our kids for identification purposes, so we can say, no, that is most definitely not your kid. That is most definitely that kid is covered with cross tattoos. That was not your kid. Stop lying, as a defense against the kidnappings.
Yep, yep, there you go. And this is the history. People don't realize these kinds of things. They don't have any idea what it was like to live under the rule of the Islamic State, of any Islamic state. And so this was an extraordinary way to live, that the daily existence being so incredibly precarious that they had to resort to such a thing. David, I'm having more technical difficulties here. Oh, here it is back. I don't know what's happening, but I lost all the stories for the week, and then they came back. I do not understand.
You're having
this.
technical difficulties. Everyone, I don't know if Robert has the links in the description box, but support this man on Patreon so he can upgrade his 15-year-old equipment here.
Yeah, thank you. It's a strange thing, you know. Once again, I remind you, we are demonetized here. We have no super chats because YouTube thinks it's some terrible thing to oppose jihad. And I'm on the lists of the Southern Poverty Law Center and the ADL and all these groups that supposedly track hate, but what they really do is throw a lot of hate on people who don't toe the line and do what they want. And so if you can help us out with at Patreon, at jihadwatch.org, that would be much appreciated. Anyway, some of them are coming back here, so let's go to... oh yeah, this is a good one. This one is one we actually talked about before, but the trial has happened now, and the lady pleaded guilty. This is Sitar Mazar Khan, and she lives in Kingwood, Texas, near Houston. And she just...
This looks like she's a bundle of joy, you can tell.
Yes. She pleaded guilty to beating, choking, and burning her 14-year-old daughter last October. And she just pleaded guilty this past week. And it was because she saw her on social media and she was not wearing a hijab, the daughter. And then she burned the pita bread. And so she forced her daughter's arm onto the hot oven rack and causing it to be rather seriously burned. And so she just pleaded guilty. And you know what, David? She was sentenced to 100 hours of community service, and she has to donate $100 to the Houston Food Bank. And this is the best part. She has to stay away from drugs and alcohol and take an anger management course. Now, I submit to you, sir, that none of that has anything to do with what Sitar Mazar Khan did. Drugs and alcohol and anger management have nothing whatsoever to do with how she treated her daughter. What does? What do you think? Do you have any clue?
Yeah, it's I mean, we can be somewhat glad that she didn't actually kill her daughter in an honor killing, because we know that sort of thing happens. But you have these situations where if a girl is behaving un-Islamically, they start putting her in the apostate category, and that's how they can justify honor killings from an Islamic perspective. You've got the four schools of Islamic jurisprudence. Three of the four say you kill a female apostate just as you would kill a male apostate. The other says no, you don't kill her. You definitely take some steps to make her return to Islam. So three of the four schools of Islamic jurisprudence say you kill a female apostate, and Muhammad also said that you should carry out Allah's punishments even on your own family members. So it becomes extraordinarily easy to justify killing even a family member for not following Islam properly. But yeah, so hey, my daughter is not wearing a hijab. I mean, keep in mind, what do you see in Iran? You punish people horribly. You punish people horribly for not wearing a hijab, not behaving Islamically. And guess what? You don't think you're doing something bad here. In your mind, you're doing something good. I'm helping her. I'm showing her that there are consequences for not being a good Muslim. And the response is what? Community service and drug and alcohol counseling.
Yeah. Like she was
Why? Why?
drunk.
Because the courts are used to the idea that that's what's happening when parents are abusing their kids, probably drugs or alcohol or anger problem or something like that. Not that the parent has some ideology which is causing her to treat her child this way.
Yep. And so it's just astonishing to me. I think that's kind of in microcosm what's wrong with the entire approach of the West to the problem of jihad. They keep forcing jihadis into preconceived categories that have nothing to do with jihad and everything to do with Western activity, Western behavior. So they have these guys that, for example, like the rape gangs. And nobody has dared in Britain, even though the rape gangs went and preyed on thousands of non-Muslim girls in Britain for years. They treated them all as separate rape cases, as if these guys were ordinary rapists like Western rapists. And never, ever did anybody even come close to saying, wait a minute, why does this keep happening? Is there an ideology behind this that's justifying this? Nobody got even close to that.
Yeah, because one of the things that kept coming up in these cases of these grooming gangs was it would be a family affair. You'd look at the names on the list and you start looking into them. There'd be like 15 people involved in this case. And it's like a guy and his two brothers and his cousin and his dad and his uncle. It's like the entire family. So what is it that is normally if a guy's raping, he needs to keep that stuff quiet. You need to keep that stuff quiet. You keep it a secret. It's not, hey guys, come over for this big rape we're committing. I mean, if I were to call up my brother, say, hey, I got an 11-year-old girl over here. Come on over here and let's all get together and rape her. There's going to be some questioning of whether I'm serious or not, or if I'm joking or something like that. But I mean, if my brother were to find out I'm serious, I'm getting clocked. I'm getting clocked if he thinks I'm serious about us getting together and raping an 11-year-old. There's going to be a bloody battle over that stuff. In the Islamic community in the UK, no. Oh, you got an 11-year-old girl? Everyone, come on, party over here. Tell everyone we got a party with this 11-year-old girl. But you're right, it never crosses anyone's mind. Let's look into the ideology and see what it is that is convincing all these guys that it's perfectly acceptable to treat non-Muslim little girls in this way. Not only does it not cross anyone's mind, when people are shouting from the rooftops, we can explain to you exactly why this is happening. We can show you from their sources exactly why this is happening. You're the evil one, which is weird because guess what? If it were if whoever's blocking the criticism, if it were their political rivals who were doing this, they would say, we need to look into their ideology. If it were their political rivals who are drugging and pimping and gang raping little girls, they would all say, we need to look into this. We need to really get to the bottom of this. Islam, not so much. Can't talk about it.
Yep. It's just, it's not even close. There was, I believe I mentioned this last week or a couple weeks ago, but it's worth repeating that there was a politician in Britain, Sarah Champion, who was part of the shadow cabinet, the opposition in Britain. I think it's kind of a cool idea. They put people in place as if they're the alternative government, that you would get these people if you vote out the other people. And she was actually fired from her job in the shadow cabinet because she said, a lot of these rapists, they're Pakistanis. And that's true, but that's not why they ain't doing it because they're Pakistani. And nobody dared come close to the real truth. But anyway, man, it's just the gins are really out tonight. But I still got some stories here, and I think we still got plenty. I also wanted to note another thing, David, that's actually in the same line, that we're talking about how the Western authorities misapprehend the phenomenon of jihad in so many different ways. And so one of them is the rape gangs, and another is the phenomenon of jihad violence itself, and the fact that every jihad plot, every jihad attack is a discrete, separate incident of criminality, and nobody ever discusses why this keeps happening among this certain demographic. And so, for example, I saw you note on X the other day that Marmari Emanuel was stabbed by a 16-year-old boy. And now we have the 7 others who were arrested who appear to be around roughly the same age. And they are also young Muslim males. And
Yeah, and
then,
I said that in regard to the 16-year-old in France, and
exactly,
he
that's what
was
I'm leading
arrested
up
for
to.
plotting a terrorist attack. Yeah.
At the Paris Olympics, 16-year-old boy, he said he wanted to die as a martyr for the Islamic Caliphate. And nobody minds. Nobody says, "Wait a minute, what's getting into all these 16-year-old Muslim boys?" And nobody ever wonders about it. And
Mm-hmm.
it's the denial and the willful ignorance. It's astonishing. It's just at off the charts levels here. All right,
Yeah.
yes, sir.
Pretty bad. Oh yeah, I mean, I don't even know how they're going to handle the Paris Olympics coming up. Like, how are you even going to handle that? You've got a ton of jihadis in your area who would love to make a name for themselves. You're already catching glimpses of them in the plots. I don't know. My goodness, would you even want to go to the Olympics at this
Not a
stage?
chance. No
Yeah.
way. I mean, I would be figuring, in the first place, the cops are going to be there, armed to the teeth. It's going to be kind of an uncomfortable atmosphere to start with. The Olympics in a police state. And then you never know because the authorities are so clueless, they still might end up pulling off a jihad attack or two. And also, there's daily jihad in France. Here's one. This is the cathedral in at Metz. Metz being a city in France. I don't know if they have a city called Yankees, but they have a city called Metz. And in Metz, at the cathedral, the these teenagers, they went in. They were having a concert in the cathedral of Bach. Bach concert, very very exalted, highly refined spiritual music. And what did you think they did, David? They yelled something. What do you think it
Uh,
was?
Peace, love, goodwill towards men, something along those lines.
Yeah, that was exactly it. No, what they said, of course, was Allahu Akbar, which, of course, is no surprise to us. But what's interesting is that they caused a panic. And I think,
Why? Bigots.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. That, I remember a few years back, there was a big full court press with Omar Suleiman and Zainab Chowdhury of the Council on American Islamic Relations and others, and they were saying, look, Allahu Akbar is just something that Muslims say all the time when they want to praise God, and it's nothing to be scared of. And
Hmm.
I was thinking, man, they're really going to have a lot of blood on their hands if somebody blows himself up and they nobody runs when they scream Allahu Akbar because CNN and the New York Times told them that it was okay and benign.
Hmm.
But here again, nobody seems to care.
Yeah, what's funny is you're familiar with this. So after Bishop Marmari Emmanuel was attacked, uh, there was a very quick rush to on social media to say that he was attacked by a Zionist
Hmm. Oh,
because
yeah.
he was talking favorably about Palestinian children and hey, we need to care about Palestinian children and so on. So saying he was, and even Andrew Tate said this man was attacked because of his anti-Zionist claims and so on. He actually deleted it, but what is still he deleted his tweet once it was exposed and he got community noted and so on. But Tommy Robinson's response is still up, and he said the guy was shouting Allahu Akbar. What's interesting is I went and looked through the responses to Tommy Robinson, and it's like over and over again. What are you talking about? Jews can say Allahu Akbar just means God is great, so Jews can say that too. A Zionist would say that too. And it's like,
Yeah.
are you guys absolutely insane? Are you complete lunatics that a guy rushing into a Christian service against a guy who has been blasting away at Islam? I mean, regularly. He's not mean. He's not going after he's not going after like Muhammad and Aisha and so on. But he's talking about the problems with the Islamic view of Jesus, and he points out some of the contradictions in the Quran and so on. And someone goes in there, stabbing him, yells Allahu Akbar, explains why he did it when they've got him on the ground. You should have said that about my prophet. And the conclusion is, yep, definitely Jew.
Yeah, I got that a lot. I was out there on Twitter that day, and people were saying, people scream Allahu Akbar to make Islam look bad. And I said, okay, great. Give me one example. One time anybody ever did that. And I will grant you the point. And of course, there wasn't any. Well, you know how incredible it is.
Yeah, and it reminds me when Hatun was attacked at Speaker's Corner, and they're saying it was by a Christian. The Christian was offended because she was mocking Allah. It's like, you guys are on the one hand, after every attack, you guys thump your chest. You see how strong we are, and on the other hand, no, it wasn't us. It was someone else. What is this? What is this religion, man?
Oh man, yes. In Italy, let me see. I think I have the picture of that, but everything is discombobulated today. Sorry about that. See, for some reason, the site keeps going down. My site, not anybody else's.
Yeah.
And I asked the tech guy, and he said, your site is not down. It's fine. So it's something localized in my machine here, but I don't know what. Anyway, so I had all these stories open.
That's why I said everyone should sign up for Robert on Patreon.
Yeah, that would be great.
To get you a powerful system that is immune to these
But
problems.
I can do a lot of these from memory because I still have the photos. So here, you'll know this guy. This is somebody we all know and don't exactly love.
He's a rock star.
Yeah, exactly. That is... They put him on the cover of Rolling Stone.
Cover of a Rolling Stone. Terrorist. And they put him on the cover of Rolling Stone looking like a 70s rock star.
Yeah. On the cover of the Rolling Stone.
Rolling Stone.
Gonna get my picture on the cover. Gonna buy 5 copies for my mother. All right.
By the way, I mean, we pointed this out when it happened. Guys, you're making it look like being a terrorist is cool for young people. What do we see? All these right now, we see all these 16-year-olds. I want to be a jihad.
Because this is, for those of you who might not know, this is Jahar Tsarnaev, who is the second and the only surviving Boston Marathon jihad bomber. And when he bombed the marathon, he became a star and was on the cover of Rolling Stone magazine. And all these witless girls started treating him as if he were a rock star and going around with signs, "Free Jahar," and so on. And you can see he's a charming guy. He did this to the camera that's in his cell. And the story is that he's getting all this money. People actually still are sending him money because they're fans. And so he's collected $24,000 while in prison. Nice. And he, not only that, but he owes $100 million to the families of the victims. And he hasn't paid them a thing. And they're trying now to take the 24 grand. And of course, his lawyers are fighting very hard to keep it. But really, why is this guy getting any money at all? It should immediately be confiscated and given to the victims' families.
Yeah, I'd say so. So yeah, guys, in case you don't know, if you're wondering what money does, you could buy stuff in prison. You can buy stuff from the commissary. So you get your regular food trays, but you can also buy, a radio or a watch or something like that. I don't know what the rules are in his prison. You can also buy different food. So you want some ramen noodles or something like that, bag of chips, you can buy all that stuff. So people can send you money. And generally, it's a good idea if you know someone in prison to send that person money. If it's a terrorist, no, don't send them money. And if you are a terrorist and you owe tons of money because you killed people, yeah, your money should be confiscated.
Yeah. So Lala Sati, I got her picture here. This is a young Christian woman in Iran. And Lala Sati is 45 years old, and she actually went to Malaysia and requested asylum. And when she was in Malaysia and requested asylum, she converted to Christianity and was baptized in Malaysia, but did not work out her asylum request in Malaysia and returned to Iran, not altogether willingly, and is now in prison, was sentenced to prison on her return to Iran. And she was imprisoned, David, for acting against national security by connecting with Zionist Christian organizations. Now, what on earth does Zionism have to do, and why would the Islamic Republic bring it in to a case of a woman who left Iran, became a Christian, and then returned to Iran?
Well, it's easy, and they can play sort of fast and loose with you come up with these general things, and you're messing around with the church and converted you. You see, you're connecting with Zionism. That's a charge they have on the books. The other thing would have been to charge her with spreading mischief in the land or causing corruption by being a Christian. It's going to be one of those things.
And that would be even worse, probably, because causing corruption in the land, of course, right in the Quran, what are the penalties for that?
So execution, crucifixion, dismemberment, chopping off body parts, or depending on the translation, imprisonment or exile. So those are the punishments for causing corruption in the land. And I mean, what's bad is when you look at the commentaries on what qualifies as causing corruption or spreading mischief in the land. Even unbelief is listed by Ibn Kathir as something that's causing corruption in the land. So the disturbing part is this very general claim: hey, if you cause corruption in the land, or if you make mischief in the land, then there are all these penalties. Well, you can accuse almost anyone of doing that at any time. So that's why it's dangerous. And governments like Iran, they take advantage of this. And hey, anyone we don't like, we can just say they're causing corruption or doing this or that. We expect that sort of thing from Iran. The disturbing thing is how screwed up various countries are when it comes to asylum. I mean, they let in people who want to completely destroy the country, and then you have actual ex-Muslim Christians or ex-Muslim atheists or so on, or critics of Islam, and they won't hesitate to send them back to a Muslim country where they're going to face imprisonment or death.
Yeah, well, that's happening now with Salwan Momika, right? In Sweden, he burned the Quran. He grew up in Iraq. He knows what damage the Quran can do. That's why he dislikes it. And they want to send him back to Iraq. And in Iraq, excuse me, he would be certainly killed.
Maybe you caught the same virus as your computer there.
Yeah, that must be it.
Yeah, but think about this, because, guys, I mean, the system is so screwed up for various countries. Here's the actual situation. This guy, if he were returned to his country, is going to be killed. He's going to be killed. There's no dispute. He's going to be killed if they send him back. They want to send him back anyway. Why? Because as they're going through the paperwork, is this guy going to be killed? They'd have to have a discussion of what Islam teaches about these things and why he's going to be killed. And they won't touch that. They won't touch that because that would make them Islamophobic. So they're actually sacrificing human beings on their altar of not offending Islam.
Yep. All right, I got a story out of Germany.
Hey, you're over 1,000.
Over 1,000 is good because, well, the Jinns have knocked half the stories out for this week, but they can't keep us down, David. So
They're
we
like
got
they're like Allah. They cause a little bit of trouble along the way, but they just can't stop us from doing what we want.
yes. Uh, so I got a story out of Germany. Jugendliche Terrorzelle gefasst. Uh, I was asked actually by somebody to do an Indian accent, and I thought, no, people will be offended. I'm not even going to do the German one too much today, but people are
I'll do
offended
it.
by accents.
Hi. Hey,
Yes.
I was talking to AP, and I was talking about like I don't know. I'm trying to figure out. Like I think there's something about a language that wires your brain in a certain way and
Yeah.
can make you more dangerous. And I was just like, hey, if you had these Germans going out against these French in World War II, even if I didn't know anything about them, if I just heard one group going, and I hear the other people going, with my croissant, I'd be like, oh, those guys are gonna mop the floor with those other dudes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I actually wonder if these things are connected. Anyway,
They might well
sorry about
be.
that.
I mean, look at the Italian army that is famous for losing. And what's the
Mhm.
other one that's famous for losing? The French. There you go. Anyway, okay. Young terror cell in Dusseldorf. And it's interesting to note that the German language story says in English, but people outside the church who were described by the young people, that is the plotters, as Kufar, in quotes, were also to be killed. So the German press is reporting that in Dusseldorf there was this group of German, not German, but Muslim young men who were going to attack at a church on Ascension Day, which I believe is coming up. I mean, I'm an Orthodox Christian. We haven't even had Easter yet, but I think in the West it's getting up to Ascension time. And they were going to do a jihad massacre at a church, and they were going to kill people that the German press identifies as kufar. Uh, who are these people? Who could they possibly be?
These are the unbelievers, ladies and gentlemen. That's if you're German and you're not a Muslim, that's you.
Indeed, but I had to laugh when I saw this German report because it acts like
Yeah,
it's some
there's some
special little
mysterious group.
group.
There's some
Yeah,
mysterious little group that they're going after called Kufar, and yeah, we don't know who these people are, but yeah, if you're not in that group, don't worry.
yeah, nothing to worry about at all. And meanwhile, in Pakistan, there was a similar story of on Western Easter, which was what April 7th. I don't remember, but anyway, it was a few weeks ago, and there was a Muslim who vowed to keep the Christians from celebrating Easter, and he set fire to their church building on Saturday, March 31st. Oh, I think Easter was Saturday, March 30th, and then Easter was March 31st, if I recall correctly. Pastor Alphonse says, our church was targeted around 3 a.m. on Saturday. The huge fire burned everything inside the church, including holy books, the sound system, furniture, and curtains. We strongly suspect that it is a case of arson, but the police and administration are trying to hush up the matter by terming it an outcome of a short circuit in the electricity wiring. But they say that there's nothing wrong with the electricity, and there are no gins like there are in my machine here, and so
Well,
they say it's arson.
well, I've been in a lot of live streams, and this is officially the most racist.
Great. Now we're going to get even more strikes from the YouTube. But that was Pastor Alphonse in Pakistan. Okay, let's see what we got here. Oh, in Myanmar, David, in Myanmar,
It's called
home.
Burma.
It was called Burma, but they got tired of all the Burma shave jokes, so it's Myanmar now. Nobody talks about Myanmar shave. So in the Rohingya, the who are jihadis, they have taken hostage 1,600 Hindus in Myanmar and 120 Buddhists. 1,600 Hindus and 120 Buddhists. What do they want to do with all these hostages, David? What's going on with this hostage business?
Um, well, it could be a couple of things. They could do horrible things to them. They could trade them for stuff, make demands, and so on.
Yep, they could. There are specified several things you could do in Quran chapter 47, verse 4. You can free the hostages outright, you can enslave them, you can kill them, or you can set them free, depending on what's good for Islam. So probably it's a fundraising tool. Hey, in light of our being strapped for funds here at Jihad Watch, David, maybe I should take some hostages.
Yeah. Hey, so I'm telling you, Robert, someone could put together a few clips of this live stream and just to show you.
Yeah, but it would be funny. It would be a funny way to go out.
It would be a funny way to go out.
Yes. Okay, this is, where is he now? I know I've got him here. This is Raheem Boateng. Do you know
Barrel of
Raheem?
joy there.
I'm sorry?
I said another bundle of joy there.
Yeah, he's a big star in Germany. Yeah, he is big star. Und he's a college student, actually, although he's 26. So I don't know what the deal is with him being in college in 26.
Well, he probably said he was 12.
Yeah, that's probably it. But he is in Hamburg, and he is the intellectual leader of radical Muslim group in Hamburg that he's been openly calling. He's got, this guy has tens of thousands of followers on social media. He's a big star on the YouTube and the Instagram, and he's calling openly for the establishment of an Islamic caliphate in Germany. Yes. And so that's Raheem.
Weird how those Germans, as tough as they are, will tolerate anyone who starts rising up saying, hey, we need to subjugate the entire world.
Yeah, well, there are some similarities. Both groups, the Nazis and the jihadis, they hate Jews. And
that's why they got along so well.
Yeah, there you go. So Raheem is right there. Probably a lot of people think, oh, here's a guy. We've heard this kind of thing before. We like this sort of thing. Also in Germany, we had, whoops, oh, there it goes again. Hold on. Let's see. Oh, I got it back, David, this time. It's touch and go, ladies and gentlemen. It's touch and go. This was in Bremen, in the city of Bremen. There was a Somali migrant, and in Bremen, on his 23rd birthday, he called up the police. And what did he say, David? He said, I just killed my sister. Do you understand? And that's actually one thing we can be sure that they would have to answer no to. They do not understand that kind of thing. Yes, exactly. I know nothing. So he said that he stabbed her to death in the name of restoring the family honor. He said, my sister is trying to be a slut. I can live without a future, but not without honor.
And I'm guessing that was not a question on the immigration papers.
You would guess correctly. They just don't have.
So you can't ask, hey, when you're coming from whatever country, Afghanistan, Pakistan, whatever, Somalia, whatever you're asking. You can't say, hey, do you believe that if your sister gets out of line, you can kill her? Can never be a question.
They wouldn't dare.
Do you believe it's acceptable for you to rape and drug and gang rape and pimp 11-year-old non-Muslim girls? You just can't ask these kinds of things. And because you won't ask them, you keep importing people who believe these things are not just okay, you are required. You have a moral obligation to murder your own relatives if they get out of line. And you won't even so much as ask them. You won't even so much as ask them if they believe these things. But you find out once you bring them in, then you find out, nope, they do believe these things that we didn't ask them about.
They just assume they're all secular Westerners, that they're exactly like
the whole world is.
Everybody here. Yep.
It really sucks that so many people have to die because of stupid ideas in stupid people's heads.
It's true. And that's what we're having on a grand scale, the whole demise of Western civilization because of stupid ideas in stupid people's heads. It's incredible. All right, I got a story out of Uganda, David. And interestingly enough, now that we're winding down, the gins have released the website and the stories are coming back. I don't understand this at all. But anyway, okay. In Uganda, story on Western Good Friday, which I believe was in late March once again. And there was a preacher, Timothy Wambi, 26-year-old preacher, Christian preacher, father of two children. And on Good Friday, he was conducting outdoor services and he was preaching. And a couple of Muslims came and they said to him, "You are not allowed to preach during Ramadan." And so they attacked him and they beat him savagely with sticks. He probably would have been killed were it not for the fact that somebody else came along, one of the other Christians, and he was able to alert security personnel in time. But it's interesting to me that it was on Good Friday, which of course is a holy day for Christians, and he was preaching, but the Muslims didn't care about that. They only cared that it was Ramadan, and the supremacist assumption is in place. You have to conform to Muslim sensibilities, not the other way around.
Yeah, and it is just really interesting that somehow, if you're a Muslim, it gets ingrained in your brain. You get to tell the rest of the world how they're allowed to behave, and it becomes from a Dawa perspective, we're supposed to rule the world and take over the world, and we're supposed to rule over the kuffar. And the rest of us are looking, going, "What makes you think that you should be ruling the world?" And they're like, "We're looking at you. What do? You destroy your own countries, you turn them into Sharia compliant hellholes, and then you all flee these Sharia compliant hellholes, and then you go to other countries and then tell them, here, we get to rule over you. We will burn your
Mm.
countries to the ground regularly. We will riot and complain and set up encampments and everything else to show you that we're the responsible ones here who deserve to be ruling over everyone else in the entire world."
Exactly. So I got
But
a
it's everything, right? Hey, you're a Christian. You can't preach. We say, what? Well, why can't I preach? Because we say, oh, you're eating on a bus. You can't do that. Why?
yeah.
Because we say, look, we get to rule the world. Somehow their religion convinces them that the people I would trust least on the planet to rule over me, these are the guys that should be in charge. And Allah's doing a bang up job and picking some winners.
So a related story out of Italy: three migrants from Tunisia, and they savagely beat a fourth migrant after accusing him of attending the Christian church. Now, what business of it was it of theirs that he was attending church? None whatsoever. But like you're saying, they are in charge of everybody else's behavior. And so that was that. And speaking of which, I think we should end up on this. This is, of course, one of the
Oh,
police officers. You know this one.
yep.
This
So
is one of the police officers, and the guy who's cut off in the frame here was a social worker, and they went to visit a Christian's home in Britain because he wrote on social media after Marmari Emanuel was stabbed, "Christians should stand up." And you know, David, I got to tell you, the first thing I thought of when I saw this story in the video was Ali Dawa. Ali Dawa says, we are going to come and kill the apostates as soon as we're going to go door to door, right? And kill the apostates as soon as we take over. Do you think any cops have ever visited his house?
nope. Yeah, me and AP did a live stream about this, showing the difference between how Muslims and non-Muslims are treated in the UK. Because there's that clip of a Jewish guy saying, "Hey, I'm just walking home from synagogue," and the police are saying, "You can't do that here. You can't walk through here. Your presence will be too enraging to these other people
Mm-hmm.
because you're openly Jewish," meaning he had a yarmulke on. Because you're openly Jewish, you can't come here. You have to go. You have to go out a different way. We're going to escort you out, and they tell them we can either escort you out of here or we can arrest you. But under no circumstances are you, a guy who's openly Jewish, allowed on this public street in London. And so there's that. There's a video of of a British Christian woman who was praying
Hmm.
near an abortion clinic quietly. She wasn't protesting. She wasn't yelling. She's silently praying in her own mind. They arrested her. You have Tommy Robinson, who's repeatedly arrested for stuff we do all the time,
Hmm.
criticizing Islam and things like that, reporting the news, reporting stuff that goes on. And then, of course, you have this guy who, hey, why can't Christians stand up? And why can't Christians stand up when? And he was talking about the Bishop Marmari Emmanuel attack. He's talking about something that happened in Australia. Why aren't Christians standing up? Police come to him. Meanwhile, you've got the Dawa guys talking about Ali Dawa. There's another clip of Ali Dawa saying he wants to be sitting there eating popcorn, watching apostates being executed. You have them making videos about being in polygamous marriages and taking secret second and third wives, not just secret from the government, but secret from their own wives. Because if your wife is going to be upset that you're marrying your Dawa buddy's child bride and stuff, I mean, daughter or something, 9-year-old daughter, you don't want to have to deal with her being upset, so you just keep it a secret. You keep it all
The
a
the
secret.
the whiteboard lady,
What's that?
the
Oh
whiteboard
yeah, yeah,
lady.
yeah. That's a different one. But no, they have an entire
No,
an entire live stream.
didn't
Oh
he
yeah,
do a live stream where he doesn't let the
yeah.
wife talk and she
Yeah, he
writes
doesn't let
on
his
the
wife talk. She
whiteboard?
has to. Yeah, he's careful to brag though. That's her choice. She chooses to only communicate via whiteboard to show what a devout, obedient Muslima she is. But keep in mind, you've got all these guys saying all these things. They don't get a visit, but if you say, "Hey, we should oppose this," police show up at your door.
Yep.
Want to have a
They
sit
want
down with you.
everybody to surrender and give up.
And it's
Uh,
Robert. It's the same. It's the same thing. We could have predicted this when you got the Lee Rigby attack years ago.
that's when
And
I was
meanwhile,
banned.
they just keep bringing in all these jihad preachers calling for the subjugation of the UK. You go over there and you have to be blocked. You're the one who criticizes the jihad. You have to be blocked from even entering the entire country. Once they had that mentality, jihad, good. Anyone who criticizes jihad, bad. Sharia, good. Anyone who criticizes Sharia, bad. It's like, what do people think is going to be the result of this? And it's him. No, Hatun. She was surrounded. She was surrounded by Muslims screaming at her. Police showed up and arrested her. They pull her out of the middle of these guys and they arrest her to appease the mob. Well, guess what? The mob is growing. If your police are already hell bent on not offending them, even if they're gang raping little girls, you don't criticize them. You don't criticize them. If there's dozens of them surrounding a Christian woman, you target the Christian woman. If there's a Jew, you don't worry about the safety of the Jew. Worry about appeasing the mob who would be offended at the presence of the Jew. It's like, gosh, you guys are done, man. Stick a fork in you.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I've been saying it for years. And I remember people would get really mad when I was saying in like 2002, Britain is finished. But the writing's been on the wall for a long time. I got nothing to retract. Anyway, nonetheless, it ain't over till it's over. And even when it's over, we will still keep on fighting for freedom. They might take over, but they're not going to have an easy time of maintaining power. There will be all kinds of people standing up at that time. I'm not talking about violence. I'm not talking about illegality. Well, illegality in an Islamic regime, but I'm not. I'm just saying that they will never extinguish the human spirit. David, thank you. A lot more jihad, but we will leave it there. We can hope there won't be any next week. But if there is, we will likely be back. Until then, pray, hope, and don't worry.